I thought that following God meant that life would be easier. But, now in these 2.5 years that I've been following God, I kind of noticed that it's the opposite, and, especially lately, it seems as if there's so much more problems and struggles that are going on in my life. And I won't lie, I kind of got frustrated at God, kind of got mad at God why He's doing this. All I'm trying to do is be in the Word. All I'm trying to do is try to share the gospel. But why is there so much problems? And I think it's because I started to seek comfort rather than the Comforter. I started to seek peace rather than the Prince of Peace. In my mind, I always just want the easy way out. I want things not difficult. I want to stay in my comfort zone. And that means that I don't go to God and I just find the easy way out. And, I had to learn the hard way that sure, that's going to work temporarily, but it's really not going to help in the overall journey in the long run. I used to run to my addictions before I started believing in Jesus, because those things, at least temporarily, gave me comfort, gave me peace, gave me some sort of happiness. But the thing is that it would never last. I would run to drinking. I would run to porn. I would run to, trying to succeed in school and whatever else I did. I tried to really push myself in the gym. And sure, temporarily, it served its purpose of, feeling good. But then it faded away. I always had to put so much effort to have that peace, have that happiness, but it always felt that it was, disappearing in my hand. And this is where Proverbs 14 verse 12 is so true. It says, "There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death." So, for example, me in my life, there are paths that I think is right, but almost always it leads to death, to my death. Whenever I did run to my addictions, I always ended up just in pain, just suffering, just this emptiness that I couldn't get rid of. Or even now that I'm a Christian, there's still things that I struggle with. There's still things that I allow in my life to happen. And when I do run to those things, still that same emptiness in my heart. And, it's makes me so frustrated too. I thought that now that I have God, it's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to get better. But it's not about that. It's not about having comfort. It's not about just having peace. It's not about having zero problems. It's always about turning to the one who is with us in all our problems. And, tying this to Genesis chapter 1, in Genesis chapter 1, God created the sun and the moon, right? Genesis chapter 1, verse 16. "And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also." So this is where God made the sun and the moon. And if you look at the science, the only reason that we're able to see the moon at night is not because it creates its own light. It's not because it shines on its own, but it's simply because it reflects the light from the sun. And when I think about the moon is me. When you look at the moon, it's all alone. When you look at the moon, it's dark. When you look at the moon, it's so imperfect, right? There's so much bumps, so much craters. But when the moon shines at night, it looks so beautiful, right? And that's because it reflects the light from the sun. So in the same way, I cannot shine on my own. I cannot be happy and have this hope just by myself. The moon must turn to the sun. In the same way, I must also turn to the sun, turn to Jesus, because ultimately, it's only Him that's gonna allow me to shine. It's only Him that's gonna allow me to have this light. It's not anything that I did, but it's all that the Son did. It was to give the light, and the only thing left for me to do is to receive that light. And this is what I had or am learning too, especially right now. It's not about having no struggles. It's not about having things easy, but it's always about turning to the light. When it gets dark, when it gets lonely, when all you see is your problems, your imperfections, it's all about turning to the light. Because in the same way, when I look at myself, all I see is my blemishes, my imperfections, this emptiness. But when I turn to the light, when I turn to Jesus, then I'm reminded, that I'm righteous. That I'm perfected. That I'm a new creature. That the old has passed and the new has come. So it's all about turning your eyes to the sun. And this is also what we see, in the Old Testament, where there were fiery serpents. Right? God allowed the fiery serpents to bite the Israelites. If I was an Israelite, right? God, help me. Why are you allowing these fiery serpents to bite me? But it was so that the Israelites can turn and look to the bronze serpent. And that bronze serpent, of course, represented Jesus. So God will allow fiery serpents to bite us. God will allow, for us to experience things. But it's all ultimately so that we can look to something greater. So that we can look to the bronze serpent. So that we can look at the sun. So that we can look at Jesus. Because the real peace is not found in having no problems. Real peace is having Jesus in all your problems. Right? He is the fourth man in the fire, right? In Daniel chapter 3. And sometimes, sometimes I feel like I know this stuff, but really it takes learning it the hard way to be really reminded of, what actually is peace. What actually has to happen for me to, again, realize. Right? Because the Bible says that our heart forgets. Right? In Deuteronomy chapter 8, God said that when the Israelites got blessed, they forgot about God. They forgot about how it was God who blessed them, how it was God who redeemed them, how it was God who provided for them. And in the same way in my life, I always forget. The heart always forgets that, it was God who saved me. It was God who provided. It was God who helped me. Because when the blessings come, when good things happen, I start to take all the glory. I, for some reason, think that it was me who did everything. It was me who did something. No, it was never about me. It's all about remembering who I am without the sun. Right? I am the moon. Jesus is the sun. It's all about turning to Him, who is the light of the world. And Jesus said, He is the light of the world and the light of all men. When our lives get dark, lonely, empty, sad, whatever it may be, we gotta turn to the light.